on to the peasant part of the costume. After taking a week, because after finishing up the ball gown, I just need a minute of not thinking about glitter and tulle. But it's time to move on. So right now what I'm going to do is, because both these machines need help, the serger needs to be taken to a shop, so I'm going to take it to a shop probably tomorrow to get fixed, because as I mentioned before, the timing's off, and that's something that just needs some TLC from a professional. But as of this one, the needle's breaking and it keeps hitting the presser foot. I'm gonna first just do a service of like taking stuff apart and cleaning it. I know how to do that, and see if it fixes itself. If not, then I'll also have to take this to the shop tomorrow. And that, it's fine. It's fine. Alright, so took off the plate and you can see just all the glitter and lint. So I'm gonna clean this up. I just bought a random old brush. And then I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna oil it. And then we're gonna see how that does. Because generally when I have any big issues, a little bit of cleaning goes a long way. So get that on. Alright, so I just finished servicing the sewing machine and it is running smoothly now. And after putting a new needle in and just like tightening everything up, it's not hitting the presser foot anymore. So we'll see while we sew if I actually have to take it to the shop, but I can move on. So it's time to start drafting another pattern. I want to give the ball gown one more shot being connected, so I'm not gonna take it apart yet. So I'm just gonna have to add some extra seam allowance when I sew to the bodice when I draft the pattern. But what I'm gonna do now is, instead of like the original design, I'm gonna follow this picture right here, because there's a lot of fullness in the skirt, which, since there's a lot of fullness in the ball gown, once you roll it up, it's still going to be pretty poofy. So this kind of resembles a maid outfit a little bit better, and it will hold the poof better. So right now I'm only going to work on the bodice. I really don't have to worry about the skirt till next week or 2 weeks from now. It depends on how long this takes me, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to go ahead and draft this pattern. So our lovely pattern has been drafted. Right now the front and the sides are fitted, and for the side right here there's a huge overlap of about all the way up to my fingers is where the other part is, and I'm not going to adjust this until the very end, because once you add the snaps and you have all this other layers, I want to make sure I have as much overlay as possible, because when I worked on the transforming dress, this Sailor Moon one, I didn't have enough, so now I'm having a lot. I learned my lesson now for snaps. So, and then same with the bottom. The bottom has these little squares. I too will not fix that till the end, or towards the end, just because I need to make sure everything fits and looks right. So cosmetic stuff is last, but at least functionality will be good. And so now I can actually cut this on the main fabric. Ooh.
You don't actually believe a single word I'm saying, do you? Oh, sure, of course I believe you. Great. Just repeat the words I'm about to say, all right? Moon, prism, power, makeup. Right! Moon, prism, power, makeup!
sew the dress together to the front piece, and then do the same thing I do with the front and the back. And then we can move on to putting the bodice together. So putting boning in, all that. I will say, taking a week off was helpful, and sewing again without all the huge amounts of tulle was very nice, and it felt very therapeutic. Still enjoy a smooth sew. So gonna continue doing that, and we'll see where we are after that. Have the muslin and the lining sewn for the front and back pieces. They don't go together. And I just pinned it. I didn't actually completely sew the top, only just the hemlines, just so I can kind of see everything together and see if there's any adjustments, just because I did overdraft the outer and lining pieces to make sure there was room for it to snap together on the side, which I have so much room now. And so I kind of roughly put it on. It's crooked on the back, just to kind of see how everything's looking, what I might cut to edit before I sew everything together, and anything else I need to do. For starters, we know that the armholes are way too small, and that the straps, let's get you down here so you can actually see the straps. And the straps are a little bit, I wouldn't say short, but I don't think I have it on right, because I, again, ample room when I cut. So I'm gonna pin it to how I want it and kind of call it for today. So tomorrow I'm going to do any adjustments that I need to do, and yeah. So I made all the necessary edits. So, and I then seam ripped the top that I sewed together, because we gotta add some trim. So I have this fun little, I'm losing the name of this trim, but I have trim. And I'm gonna just put this on the right side, base stitch it down, and then sew everything together, leaving the bottom open. I'm gonna do that with the front and the back pieces. It's like comfortably snug around the end, which is around my forearm. And then I add a trim. And next I'm gonna do, after I do the other sleeve, is I'm gonna sew it onto here. But since the sleeve is gonna be two pieces in the end, it's gonna be something here attached and something here attached. I'm just gonna kind of pin it on, figure out how I want it to fit, then sew it on. And then we'll move on to decorations and such. Ignore my face. I cut myself. So, we have the whole first half done, sleeve and all, and I'm gonna just break down how this works, because I need to eventually do the other side, but it requires hand sewing, and that takes forever. So, update for this week is we have the pattern down, the other sleeve is almost ready to go. We just need to attach everything. So, after you have your sleeve, you're gathering it to make a cuff, and then you add a trim. I'm using the same trim that I used for the neckline. And then folding it in half, I cut down the center. So after I cut down the center, I sew it onto the front and back pieces. And then I'll hem all the raw edges. So after that, I sewed on the trim with a little bit of hang over, so it covers what would have been a seam. And the hard part now is from under the bust all the way up, all the way to the collar, snaps. So if you can see, it's easy to pull apart. So it pulls off really easy, and I put a pin on the other side because it's not done. But just snaps. Snaps going 3 inches apart, going up or down. You can use Velcro. Velcro would have been easier. Velcro would have been much, much easier. You could have just machine sewed it down and you wouldn't have to spend 3 hours hand sewing snaps and then having the seam rip the snaps that you sewed on wrong and then having to redo them. You wouldn't have to go through all that. But when, especially like pieces right here, if you did choose to use Velcro to make it not appear, I would sew the Velcro on first and then add the trim. I picked snaps personally because masochist, but also because with the Velcro it gets bulky, and with snaps is a little bit smoother. Like if I were to pin it up again, I really will. Pinning it up again, it's like smoother on each side. Velcro, you would still have a little bit of thickness, especially when you put them together. So that's why I picked snaps, as tedious and annoying that they are. And it fits pretty well, ends around mid forearm. And all I have to do starting next week is do the other side, and then we'll have the detachable part of the bodice. But then after that, I'm going to do some decorations, add on the skirt, then we work with transformation parts, and then we have the fun process of putting it all together. So we're in the second half for sure. But that's what we got done for this week. We have a detachable bodice with functioning sleeves. And putting it back together is also simple. I'm not going to really explain it too much. It's just snapping them all back on. So, there you go. So that's all I have for this week. I'll see you guys next week with hopefully the completion of this bodice. And maybe the skirt. It'll probably just be another bodice part 2. But it'll be closer to being done. So far I'm really liking this. It's just like the trim and the cut and the decorations makes it very exciting to me. So I have fun. Alright, see you guys.